Hello and welcome to This Explainer. If you're a startup founder, a product manager, a CTO, or any kind of enterprise decision maker, you know exactly how it feels to get that initial spark of a new mobile app idea. It's exciting, right? But, well, the next part, actually translating that idea into software that people genuinely want to use, that's a massive challenge. Almost instantly, you're faced with endless rows of potential mobile app development agencies, and honestly, they're all promising total excellence. The choice feels incredibly overwhelming, mostly because the consequences are so profound. I mean, taking a wrong turn here doesn't just waste your budget, it literally costs you time, team morale, and absolutely crucial market opportunity. So today, we're going to take some expert strategies and translate them into a very concrete roadmap for selecting a development partner that truly aligns with your long-term business goals. Okay, let's dive right into this quote because it brilliantly hits the nail on the head. It shows that your success actually begins with an internal audit, long before you send out a single email to a vendor. I mean, think about it. You cannot effectively evaluate an external team if your own internal team doesn't even know what you're aiming for. This foundational step is really all about getting brutally honest with your own stakeholders. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, prepare before you search. Second, reading beyond the portfolio. Third, finding true cognitive alignment. Fourth, decoding proposals and temperament. Fifth, final checks and references. And finally, number 6, the post-launch partnership. Let's get right into it. Step 1, prepare before you search. First things first, you need to gather your stakeholders and ask the really difficult questions up front. What specific problem are we truly solving here? And who exactly are we solving it for? This is also the moment where you lock in your baseline budget and your timeline. Now, if your answer is simply, well, we want to build an app, you're already off track. You need to establish one primary key performance indicator. Maybe that's user retention, transaction volume, or perhaps operational cost reduction. By defining this specific business pain and locking in your core KPI, you ensure that literally every subsequent technical decision ladders straight up to this specific goal. It's an absolute must to prevent you from building a product that's, wide but shallow. Now, forcing your stakeholders to brutally prioritize features into 3 strict categories is a real game changer for setting realistic expectations. Your minimum viable product should contain only what is absolutely essential for launch, nothing more. Everything else gets pushed to subsequent iterations or that infamous nice-to-have pile that might never see the light of day. Getting this internal alignment sorted out early is honestly your strongest filter when it comes time to evaluate how different agencies propose handling your build. Moving on to step 2, reading beyond the portfolio. Let's be real. Anyone can assemble a beautiful user interface with today's modern tools. The actual test is the substance and the longevity of the work beneath that polished surface. You literally need to act like an investigative reporter here. Go straight to the App Store, download their past work, and actively mess around with it. How long does it take to load a new screen? Do the animations stutter or is the flow super smooth? How robust is that backend API integration when it's fetching data? This perceived performance is what dictates user trust. And crucially, look at the public update history. If the last update was, say, 8 months ago with some vague note about bug fixes, well, that suggests the agency's relationship with the client ended the second the product was delivered. You're looking for a history of consistent, substantive updates. Furthermore, as you dig through their past case studies, you are specifically hunting for their complexity quotient. What you want to find is that one project that seems to break their usual mold, something that defies the technically ordinary. Maybe they successfully cracked a unique real-time data sync issue, or they handled a highly complex creative challenge. Spotting this complexity quotient is absolutely the best evidence of a team's depth. It elevates them from just being a superficial design shop to being a reliable engineering partner that can actually handle the unexpected.
Step 3, finding true cognitive alignment.
Those initial calls with a potential agency, they are your absolute best opportunity to move right past their prepared sales pitch. Remember, the goal here is a dialogue, not an interrogation. So instead of quizzing them on specific coding languages or tools, present a genuine puzzle from your actual project. Describe a real, tricky complexity you're currently facing, and then just pause. Listen very carefully to the questions they ask you in return. What you're listening for here is their problem-solving rhythm to see if it actually matches yours. Are they mere order takers who just immediately jump to a rigid, easy solution for today? Or are they strategic thinkers, See, strategic thinkers will deconstruct the problem. They'll probe into the user's core motivations. They might even challenge your initial technical assumptions, and they'll ask how to structure the system to accommodate future needs. Confirming that they're strategic thinkers ensures that their thought process is going to truly complement yours down the line.
Step 4. Decoding proposals and temperament.
A huge, common mistake to avoid at this stage is selecting a partner purely based on cost or just matching up technical features. Instead, try gently challenging one of their suggestions. Pitch an alternative viewpoint. A task-focused vendor will likely dig their heels in and get defensive, focusing heavily on features just to justify their stance. But a true partner? They will show intellectual flexibility. They'll engage in a healthy dialogue with your perspective. Better yet, they'll demonstrate real business outcome curiosity, meaning they'll start steering the conversation toward your revenue streams and your customer acquisition models. That proves their technical decisions are actually being guided by your commercial success. Now, when you finally get to the written proposal, the absolute most telling section is usually the assumptions and the communication plan. Don't be afraid to ask them directly. How do you handle bad news? Fun fact, projects that hide tiny little delays in month 1 are exponentially more likely to fail by launch. A mature team isn't going to sugarcoat things for you. They will provide a transparent, structured escalation path. They know that surfacing issues quickly is actually a form of deep professionalism, not a sign of failure. It's this level of transparency that builds the kind of trust capable of withstanding the inevitable bumps of software development. Step 5. Final checks and references. It's easy to be wowed by impressive resumes, but you need to look beyond that and ask how long their key people have actually been on board. Frequent team turnover inside an agency, that creates a massive hidden drag on your project. It leads to constantly repeating knowledge transfers and a total loss of cohesive vision. So always check for team continuity. A stable group that has built up a shared history and a shorthand together translates directly into serious efficiency and predictability for your app's build. Next up, when you finally get one of their client references on the phone, do yourself a favor and skip the generic questions. Ask this one specific question instead. Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently when picking and working with your team? It's such a simple pivot, but it brilliantly lowers their defenses. People will usually share a small, incredibly honest piece of advice, maybe a specific communication habit you need to insist on, or how the agency actually handles deadlines when they're under pressure. I promise you, this yields way more practical nuance about the daily grind than a glowing formal testimonial ever could. And finally, step 6, the post-launch partnership. This is absolutely a defining question, and you should pose it directly to the agency's leadership. Simply ask, what does a successful partnership look like to you 6 months after we go live? Then, listen very closely. Their answer is going to reveal absolutely everything about their long-term commitment to your digital asset. And this response starkly highlights the massive divide between a mere vendor and a true partner. A project-focused vendor, well, they'll answer by talking about final deliverables, approaching deadlines, and just surviving that initial deployment. A true partner, however, will immediately start discussing user feedback loops, ongoing performance metrics, security updates, and post-launch iteration plans. A true partner ties their own reputation directly to your product's ongoing, sustained success, not just meeting a date on a calendar. So as you move forward in your selection process, use this final mental checklist. Have you prepared internally? Did you thoroughly evaluate their complexity quotient? Do you genuinely have cognitive alignment? And are they fully committed to post-launch scaling? Remember, you are not just buying code. You're selecting the minds and the temperament that will literally shape your business's future. So look at your current shortlist of vendors and ask yourself this final question. Are you about to hire a short-term code factory or the long-term architects of your digital future? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck with your build.